Hey guys, welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid. And these things used to be called the morning rambles, but every now and then I'll do them in the mid to late afternoons like I am today. Yes, I've sold out. Okay, I'm going to tell you why. Been getting accused of having sold out a lot here lately with this whole Bigfoot Sasquatch stuff. So I'm finally just going to admit it. Yeah, I sold out. I actually did an interview today, something that I get asked to do regularly by people with YouTube channels, blogs. They want to interview me about my Bigfoot Sasquatch experiences, my Bigfoot Sasquatch research techniques, my books, just various things. And I always say no. And by the way, yeah, we're at a different angle. We're at the high point of my property here today where I can look down and see my house, my pond, the fields. So I hope you enjoy this view. We're going with a different perspective today, a different view, because I'm going to talk about a few things that might make you view a few other things differently. It's like Robin Williams' character in the movie Dead Poet Society said, got him to stand up on the desk and look around, and he said, when you look at things differently, the things you see look different. There's going to be some of that in this video today, okay? So hang tight, listen closely, and of course, as always, get my 6. So, the main reason I never grant interviews when I'm contacted about interviews, and I did one today, and I'm going to tell you where to go to see it. It's a 26-minute long interview about my research methods, how I came up with them, why I do what I do, certain things. It's things that maybe I should have addressed on this channel before, and I have to some degree in some of my, Bigfoot Sasquatch Files books. So I refuse to let other people take advantage of me, because for many years I did. And I made a video about that recently, about how this scammer cost me a ton of money. I used to work for free. People would see that I had a skill set that was valuable, and I was actually somewhat good at that skill set. And so they'd sucker me into working for them for free, because they were household names. People knew who they were. And eventually, everybody would be reading Kevin Lake books because I'm associated with, these household names. Never panned out, never worked out. So fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Okay? So nobody contacted me when we had 10,000 subscribers. Nobody contacted me when we had 20,000 subscribers. But once you pass 100,000 and 200,000, everybody wants to interview you. What they're doing, as I mentioned in that video I made, is they want you to send them their audience. Okay? I don't do it. If somebody is going to hear my stories, they're going to come to my channel to hear them. Does that sound selfish? Yeah. But after being down and out in the Philippines for years, hardly eating, and scared to death that your son would get sick because you didn't have the money to medically treat him, and then finding out you were making tens of thousands of dollars a month for other people, writing for them, creating social media content for them, and they weren't paying you, and they thought you should feel honored to have your name as a byline on their blog, it toughens you up a little bit. Okay? So here's the deal. It's funny, and I'm not so sure I understand this, but I'm going to tell you how I have been accused of selling out, and then making t-shirts, selling merch, all this stuff, putting the links to your books in your description of your videos, like this one, Bigfoot Sasquatch Files 1 through 3. Get them there, Kindle or print. But recently, some vertically challenged individual who lives under a bridge came over, blasted me, saying, wow, I've watched your channel for 2 years and you finally sold out. You first sold out to your wife dearly by plugging her channel, and then you sold out to your friend Jenny Joe by plugging her channel. I will never watch any more of your videos and I am unsubscribing. And I'm like, wow, okay. This person was so offended that I, made a video or two saying, hey, go like my wife's channel, Life with Dearly. Like this. Hey, go like my wife's channel, Life with Dearly. Okay, but I was thinking, how is this selling out? I don't get it. But this person was livid that I'd done it, because not only did they blast me, they went to my wife's channel and probably Jenny Jo's channel. I haven't talked to her in a few days. Told my wife same thing, said, wow, your husband is such a sellout by telling us to come to your channel. I hope you know the only reason people are subscribing to your channel is because they like your husband, not you. I will not subscribe to your channel. Whatever. Okay, so I don't know what any of that means, but we're going to say that this is how I've sold out, okay? So now that we know I've sold out and we know exactly how I've sold out, I'm going to talk to you about why I've sold out. I think it's a pretty good reason why I've sold out. Okay, let me tell you something about my beautiful bride, Dearly, aka Giggly Girl. And we get this a lot too. These vertically challenged individuals who come on the channel and say, wow, you can tell she's with him for the money. When it's gone, so will she be, or whatever. Those of you who have followed this channel faithfully know that when Dearly got with me, there was no money. I was a bat crap crazy disabled combat war veteran down and out in the Philippines, drinking himself to death and drugging himself to death until I finally ran out of all the VA drugs I was on and couldn't get any more because, well, there was just no VA there. There's one in Manila, but I was in Mindanao where all the action takes place. So anyway, this woman and the son that she would bring me literally loved me back to life, okay? Nothing I have today, this homestead and the success we've had with social media and the books recently, none of it would have happened if it hadn't been for this girl who was with me before there was ever any money. When she got with me, all there was problems, okay? Not today. Our needs are met, we want for nothing, and we are excited about life. We were talking about that today. Now, we're over here in the U.S. now, okay? Dearly came here legally. She has remained here legally. Dearly, off and on, has worked here legally because she has a valid Social Security number issued to her from the Social Security Department. Dearly pays taxes. Dearly has money withheld from her earnings, and she pays taxes. Recently, very recently, and this is something that we've never discussed on either channel that I'm going to discuss now that she doesn't even know I'm discussing. But I want to talk to you about this selling out I've done by asking you to go like her channel. And it has to do with the interview that I finally gave. You know, the nearly 30-minute long video in which 30-minute long interview in which I guess I've sold out again. It all ties together here at the end, and you'll get it. Just hang in there with me, okay? So, this past winter, Dearly decided she wanted to work at a hospital, UVA hospital here in Charlottesville, University of Virginia Hospital, in the housekeeping department. They were paying $15 an hour, which ain't bad. It was, the shift was from 7 a.m. till 3:30 p.m. And I thought, I said, well, honey, that's great. I support you in anything you do, but you know, we don't need the money. We do not need the money. We're blessed in that our needs are met. We want for nothing, and we got a couple bucks left over at the end of the month after we paid the bills. We're fine. You don't have to do this. And she said, I know. She says, you know, but I want to know what it feels like to have a real full-time job, because a lot of the stuff she'd done in the past, she'd temp, and it would be temporary assignments that maybe lasted a month, or maybe she'd work in the concession stands at UVA football games. She says, I want to have a real job. I said, you know what? That's great. And she did that, and she did that for 6 months. 6 months straight. She worked 5 days a week. It was a 40-hour week. 6 months. Never missed a day. I think she might have called out once, because she did. And actually, this is part of the story. This is part of my sellout story. Shortly after my beautiful bride, Dearly, a.k.a. Giggly Girl, got her job working at UVA Hospital in the housekeeping department for $15 an hour, this virus thing broke out, this pandemic, this flu. It's called COVID-19. Perhaps you've heard of it? And I said to my wife, I said, you know what? Maybe you shouldn't be down there at the hospital. That's like ground zero. And she said, no, I'm okay. They're training us on how to deal with it. And she got trained in like hazmat training, how to properly clean the rooms where the COVID-19 patients had been kept while they were there. She did this stuff and never mentioned it on her channel. And she told me not to mention it on mine. And, you know, there's a lot of, and these people that do this are heroes, the doctors, the nurses, the housekeeping staff, the janitorial, custodial staffs. These people are down there at ground zero doing this. My wife did that for 6 months. She did miss one day because she developed a cough that wouldn't seem to go away. She got tested for COVID-19 and she came back negative. She didn't have it, so she went back to work. But it was enough of a scare for us to really have a serious conversation about her not working at UVA Hospital anymore because of the greater likelihood of her contracting COVID-19. So she said, but I need to be doing something because I need to be sending money to my parents in the Philippines. And listen, she has done that off and on, not with any sort of regularity because her parents work. They are hardworking people. Her mother owns a restaurant and her father is a tricycle driver, public transportation. They work, they make their own money. They have never asked for ours. There was one time when they had one of their sons who's only a year older than our son, Daniel, got ran over by a motorcycle and they needed some money, emergency situation, and we were more than happy to send it. It was only like maybe $150. But here's the situation right now in the Philippines, where my wife's from. They are on lockdown. And let me tell you about lockdown in the Philippines. Third world country, third world infrastructure, 7 degrees above the equator, where every day it is the middle of scorching summer, 12 months a year. They don't get a winter. They get a couple of rainy seasons. Temperatures might drop to the mid to upper 80s. But I guarantee you right now in the Philippines, during the peak of the afternoon, it's 95 degrees, 95% humidity. And you have people, Dearly has 11 siblings. Half of them are grown. Half of them are still at home. They're either late teens or early 20s. They're still at home with mom and dad. You've got families where there are 6 or 8 or 10 people living in their version of it's home. They're at home, okay, but their houses aren't like ours. A lot of them are constructed out of plywood. They've got coconut rooftops, coconut leaf branched rooftops. There is no air conditioning in most of them. Some of them have that luxury, most do not. These people are being, and it's for their protection against the pandemic, these people are holed up, 8 to 12 people in a room that's 10 feet by 20 feet maybe, or 12 feet by 20. The only way to cool down is to continually take a cold shower because they don't have hot water. And even their showers is not a shower, it's a spigot in they call it the CR, which means comfort room. It's what we would call the bathroom. Okay, there's a spigot on the side of the wall, and you sit there on a little stool, and you run the water into a 5-gallon bucket, and then you take a scooper and pour it over yourself. That's how you bathe over there. I lived there for 6 years. I took baths like that for 6 years. I didn't have hot water for 6 years. And with no air conditioning, that's the only way to cool down. So these people are on lockdown. So her mother is not earning her income from her restaurant. She did her best and she worked her hardest for years, but because this thing called COVID-19 comes along, she can't do what she does to earn an income. Her father can't go out and drive tricycles because nobody's allowed to be on the street. It's almost like martial law, okay? So these people who were living hand to mouth already, but who were bucking up and going out and working and earning the money they were using to live hand to mouth, can no longer go out and work to earn that money they were using to live hand in mouth. We got it bad over here in America. We can't go to our football games. We can't go to our basketball games. People in the Philippines can't eat. Okay, so here we were with this dilemma. Dearly's like, yeah, I know I'm not quite as safe being at the hospital with this COVID-19 thing. I know you're concerned I might get this thing and bring it home to you and our son or give it to our friends, but what about my parents? I said, honey, you know what? I think it's thunder. It might have been a growl. Who knows? I said, let's start a YouTube channel for you. We'll do our best, because she didn't want to do this thing anymore because of the Bigfoot Sasquatch stuff, especially in the evening. She will not come up here. I said, go back to that cooking stuff that you did. You really enjoyed it. There's a lot of folks who say they like to watch that. Let's start a YouTube channel for you. I'll help you get started. Try to send some folks from Homesteading Off the Grid over there to you so you can earn your own money still to support your family, to send money back to your family. And you don't have to subject yourself to COVID-19 by working in the hospital anymore. So that's what we did. And I'm not jading here, justifying, explaining, defending, or explaining my actions, even though I just did all that. This is just some behind-the-scenes stuff you never see. And so to say I've sold out because we did this, You know, my wife is able to send back $100 a week to her family, her parents, and the 5 or 6 siblings who are still living at home with them, and a couple of babies from her sisters are eating because Dearly has a YouTube channel. Okay, these people are eating because I sold out. Okay, we've often heard about how do we end world poverty, and I used to think about that, and I've finally determined that's not going to happen. It'll never happen. Because there are 2 things you'll never get rid of. There are always going to be people who will just never work. They don't want to. And number 2, because they say the best cure for poverty is a job. I used to buy into that, but that's not true. And I'm going somewhere with this. Hang on. Then number 2, there's always going to be graft. If you had any clue what percentage of money that you give to charities, you give to nonprofits, and that our government gives to other people's governments that go into the pocket of the people that run those government and run those charities, it would blow your mind and you'd never donate again. Okay? I've seen it from being in those places. Okay? But here's a question no one's ever asked, and I think there may be an answer for. There is a forgotten class out there. And this forgotten class, it's not the middle class. Oh, the middle class bears most of the burden, blah, blah, blah. And it's not the poor per se. It's the working poor. We can solve the issue of the working poor. These are people who do have work ethic, who do go to work every day, but maybe don't have the education level or the skill set to earn enough income to actually escape the lower classes or poverty. These are people who work 40 hours a week and hang their head in embarrassment because they still have to take some entitlements. They wish they didn't have to. They're doing everything they can. They just don't have the education or the skill set. How do we solve that problem? This is an idea I've come up with, and this is a solution. You call me a sellout, I call it something else. I call it looking at things differently. I honestly believe we can eliminate the working poor, rise them up above that through empowering them through social media. It's not just about, information, which is one thing. In the Philippines, come election time, it was common for people who are running for office to go around through the barangays, that means neighborhood, with buses, and pay people, 100 pesos to jump in the bus, come down and vote for them. They buy their votes, and they did it indiscriminately. They did it arrogantly. Whoever got to that neighborhood first and handed out the most money, that's who was going to win that election. About 6 or 8 years ago, a lot of these Filipinos who had technology, like I'm holding my hand right now, started pulling out their cameras and recording these guys, turning them in. They were kicked out of the election. People have had enough. They've had enough of the graft. Okay, they're sick of it. It's ending, and it's ending through social media. Now, we have a girl like Dearly. She went to college, but she didn't finish. She went through 3 years of college. Okay, so her highest education level is a high school education from the Philippines, a third world country. She's an American now. Okay, how does she compete on equal grounds, even though her education level compared to her counterparts here in America is nowhere near equal? Social media. She has her own channel. She's able to go out there and make her videos about cooking or taking those walks with her family, and she gets monetized through Google AdSense. She's able to earn an income in a way in which, before the advent of social media, she never could, because she didn't have the education, she didn't have the skill set. She does now. And she had a loving husband who is helping her out with this. Jenny Joe, Dearly's friend, they're from the same island, Mindanao. Trust me, you people who want to judge, go spend a month in Mindanao. Let's see if you even come home. Google that and you'll understand what I mean. But now Jenny Joe has that same opportunity. My wife showed me a video of a Filipino vlogger, YouTuber from Manila a couple weeks ago. This guy got his first Google AdSense check. He cried. It was like 160,000 pesos, which is about $1,600 or $1,800. I wanted to share that video because it was a pure example of gratitude. I wanted to share that on my channel, but he spoke in Tagalog throughout the whole video. But he was so grateful. He said, I never thought I'd ever have this much money in my life ever. And he says, I can't believe I'm making this money by simply making videos about the things I do during my life, during my day, showing what some of my interests are, the things that make me happy, the things I'm passionate about. And enough people watch to where I'm not poor anymore. He was crying, so grateful not to be poor anymore. He didn't have the education. He didn't have the skill sets, but he harnessed social media and he did it. This, my friends, this is not selling out. This is helping the working poor rise above in such a way they've never been able to do it before. So if that makes me a sellout, I will sell out all day long. Thanks for being here for another video from Homesteading Off the Grid. Go to the link in the description box below and buy my book. Scroll down and check out my t-shirts. That buys our groceries. Thank you for your support. Well, there you go again, Crazy Lake. Getting so emotional you forget part of the story and leave it out. So here it is. The interview I gave was on my wife's channel, Life with Dearly. I'm putting the link to that interview in the middle of this video right here and right now. So if you want to hear the background about my unique research methods, why I do what I do, and blah, 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 go do it. It's a good interview. It's almost 30 minutes long. And while you're there, please like my wife's channel. Please subscribe. And please, before you judge, before you want to talk about what it's like walking in someone else's shoes or flip-flops, which you will never know what it's like to walk in their flip-flops, view things a little bit differently this time and keep your mouth shut.